So here we are, you're doing really well, you're on the third C already. So welcome to my chat about channels. Channels are anywhere where someone can find your content online. And that doesn't just include social media channels. That will include things like your newsletter, your website, your Google My Business profile, and anywhere else that someone can find information about you online. I think we often focus on social media channels when we talk about things like this, but there are so many ways that people can find you and search for you, and it's good to be aware of all of them when you're running a small business. The trick here is to focus. You don't have to be everywhere online, and in fact, nor should you be. What you need to do is decide where you want to be, where your audience is, and then double down on that. The days where people were scrabbling to have a presence on every single social media channel are well and truly gone now. So take that as a sign that you can decide exactly where you want to be. It was certainly the case in the past that people felt that they had to be on all social media channels, even if that meant spreading themselves a little bit thinly. I really don't think that's the case anymore, and it's far better to have an idea of where you want to be and then really concentrate on those channels rather than spread yourself thinly like this. Another thing to note here is the idea of owned channels. And what that means is any information or any places online that you own and aren't at the whim of another social media channel. Now, the example I always use here is Instagram could explode tomorrow, and then what are you going to do? If you have a large audience on somewhere on social media, then you also need to be encouraging them to come away from that social media platform and follow you somewhere else. So if anything happened to that social media platform, you would still have your most engaged people from that audience. Now, that can be as simple as a website or an email newsletter. It can be as simple as making sure you connect with people on LinkedIn when you're working with them. There are loads of different ways to do this, but it's just worth bearing in mind that creating a massive following on social media doesn't always mean that you're going to be in touch with those people in perpetuity. So let's make some notes here about where people can find you online. Do you have a social media presence? And if so, what channels are you on? Do you have a website? Do you use any kind of email marketing? Do you have a blog either on your website or on another platform like Medium or Substack? And finally, do you have a Google My Business profile, and have you kept that up to date? Whilst it can seem a bit daunting, I think you're probably going to want something from each of these channels. Even if you just have a simple one-page website, it's your place on the internet and you own that outright. So it's good to set up a website, and there are some really cheap and easy ways to do that these days. Email is a fantastic way to funnel people who really are engaged with your content out of social media platforms and keep them in constant contact with you. You certainly don't need to be writing an email every week. Once a month is more than enough, and it's a great way to update the most engaged people from your social media channels who really want to hear more from you and might eventually work with you as well. So really now we come down to the crucial question that people ask me all the time. What social media channels do I need to be on? Well, I would always pass that question back to you. What social media channels do you want to be on? As I said before, I don't think you need to be on all channels like you might have done in the past. So you really can decide exactly where your content fits best and double down on those channels that you enjoy being on. If you're running a business, I highly recommend that you're on LinkedIn. I know that often people can feel like their business isn't a proper business or it isn't the right kind of business for LinkedIn. But basically, if you're exchanging your time and services for money, you are a business, and you absolutely should be on LinkedIn, because all kinds of businesses should be on LinkedIn. Outside of that, most of my clients pick their social media channels based on where they spend their most time and what kind of audience they find on each of those channels. Most people that I work with tend to double down on maybe 2 channels. So for me, for example, I have Instagram and TikTok, which are my 2 main channels at the moment. I don't use Facebook, and my Twitter account has pretty much died a death since Elon Musk took over. Also, to flip this thinking around, there is pretty much an audience for anybody on any social media channel, so it really can come down to which ones you just enjoy spending time on. You can absolutely find your right audience on TikTok. It isn't all dancing, or Instagram or Facebook, or wherever you want to hang out online. All kinds of people hang out on all kinds of social media channels. So if you were going to choose 2 outside of LinkedIn, then I would just go with your gut. Which 2 do you actually enjoy creating content for and spend time on engaging with other people's content? That is key. Engagement is a big thing in social media, so it's also worth choosing a social media channel where you're already engaging with other people's content.